that doesn't like Fox News. Perhaps maybe a truther. There might be a truther out there. When I watch speeches like Ann Coulter and I see these people come out with pies, I go, why aren't they prepared? So, here's the deal. If anybody comes up here, they will get this. Now, this is normally filled with water, but not tonight. This is Greg's Hard Lemonade. I made it myself. Oddly, it smells like asparagus, but that's really You guys eat asparagus. So anyway, usually when I do these speeches, I talk about how I became what I became. I've been in the media for like 20 years, and most of my friends and people in the business are always surprised that I'm a right-winger or a conservative or not a liberal. That's generally my speech, but since I'm here at Berkeley and I haven't been here in 20 years, I figured I'd start with something different, which is about 3 paragraphs from my book, which is Unicorns Are Awesome and You Suck. I'm going to read that, and then it's only about 70,000, 80,000 words. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to go into some poetry that I've written myself. That'll take another 2 hours. Then there'll be a Q&A period, then a break. That's the rehearsal, and then I'll come back and I'll do the actual speech. We'll be out of here probably by 1. Okay. This is a chapter I wrote on Berkeley for my new book. It's actually called Unspeakable Truths. When I came to Berkeley 20 years ago, it helped transform not only my politics, but reinforce the cynicism inside me about the meaning of true rebellion. I was a punk through and through and paid lip service to the generic left-wing dogma. But when I got to Cal, I saw what true subversion was, and it wasn't subversives at Berkeley. The idea of rebellion means nothing when it's turned into a personal identity. Dyeing your hair pink and getting 10 nipple rings becomes not a marker of rebellion, but a marker of conformity. In Berkeley, the real sheep pretended to be rebels, and those who looked like sheep were the real rebels, meaning the engineering major with back acne was far more rebellious and somewhat sexier than the coffee house commie in the crass t-shirt. The thing about Berkeley, it embraced subversives, the people who live on the edges, and they were often called eccentrics. Eccentrics, which is a nice way of saying they stink of feces. Back when I was a freshman, and you guys are here probably still know this guy. When I was a freshman, there was much was made of this Berkeley eccentric named Stony Burke. And he would always harangue people on Sprout Plaza. Because I was coming here now, I decided I would Google him and see if he's still alive. And he is, and he's still here. He's still alive. The sad thing is he has a website. So, how can a true eccentric tirelessly promote himself on a website? That means that an eccentric actually has a real drive to be accepted and to succeed and to have people look at him. So he's not really an eccentric at all. He's just somebody who wants attention. So in 1983, when I got, what was it, 83? Yeah, it was when I was a freshman. I realized that to be a real rebel, you had to blend in. You had to embrace discipline, hard work, sensible pants. I joined a fraternity, which I never thought I would do, and it was purely by luck because I really had no place to live at that time. I had a terrible roommate, Greg Hubachek, and just a jackass. But anyway. Now I'm just going to think about it for the rest of the evening. He's a lawyer in Louisiana, and he sends these really long, stupid emails. Still about Bush. It's been a couple of years. Anyway, I started tanning. I don't know why, but it seemed the opposite of heroin chic. And of course, I began cross-dressing, which I thought, as a conservative, was a nice little twist on things. So anyway, that's actually my Berkeley chapter. So who am I? I'm the host of Red Eye. Before I was at Red Eye, I was the editor of Maxim UK out in London. Oddly enough, that closed down shortly after I was there. Before that, I was the editor of Stuff Magazine, fantastic magazine, closed a couple years after I was there. And then there was Men's Health that put Obama on the cover this month. So they all ended really badly. But anyway, I'll tell you how did I become a conservative despite being around liberals? And I always argue that's what happens. Berkeley never changes, but it changes you. What you see, and what you're seeing now in the current administration is something very important. It's reminding people about what liberalism is. Most of you people weren't born when Carter was around, and you need to be reminded what that's like. I always say that liberalism is like herpes. When it shows up, it's the worst thing in the world. And when it goes away, it's like life goes on and everything's cool and, hey, maybe, it's not that bad. Then it comes back and you go, oh, it's bad. It's bad. But you need to have it come back to remind you shouldn't be spreading it around. Because if it went away for good, you wouldn't care. You'd give it to everybody. In that sense, if liberalism, and I would say progressivism is herpes, then conservatism, liberalism is incurable, and you need something to suppress it, and that's obviously Valtrex. I always say the conservative is Valtrex. It is there purely as a suppressive to keep this thing down, but in order to keep it down, you have to see it come up first. And that's what we're seeing now. You're seeing a lot of people suddenly waking up, and it felt really good to vote for this guy. He's a great guy, but you know what? I was so interested in the messenger, I forgot about the message. And the message is limited government, individual rights, all the shit that I don't remember, that you can find anywhere. But you suddenly start thinking about those things rather than that this guy is a great guy. I mean, I would say Barack Obama is an amazing speaker and a smart guy, but I don't believe in anything that he stands for. A lot of people voted for him, felt the same way. So how did I get here? Before I got to Berkeley, I was at Sarah High School. I was liberal back at Sarah because it helps, and there's a really strong similarity being a teenager and being a liberal. There are 4 elements to being a teenager that work in liberalism: narcissism, need for attention, denial of truth, a need for relevance. This is why you see similarities between celebrities and teenagers. They usually have a delayed adolescence, delayed adulthood, and at 28 they want to feel important, and so they get involved politically, and they're doing exactly what a 15-year-old kid does, and that's what I did, which was get involved in the nuclear freeze, which I think was it was a California nuclear freeze. It was started by Alan Cranston, who might even still be alive. I'm not sure, but even when I was 15, I think it was 137. But I'm not sure. He was the original Montgomery Burns. But for extra credit at Sarah High School, mind you, at Sarah, home of Barry Bonds, you could see him even then by his giant head just floating down the hall. And he used to sit next to me. I always talk about it on Reddit. I used to sit next to me and cheat off me. He was cheating back then, he's cheating now. Nothing's changed. His brother Ricky, a much nicer guy. But him, jerk. Dad, okay. Dad used to come to the gate. Why am I talking about this? Extra credit at Sarah High School was getting signatures for the nuclear freeze. So you'd go to in front of a church and you'd get these signatures. And you would get, if you had a B- in a class, you could get up to a B+ if you got 30 signatures. And this is what was reinforced in my mind, is that this shit works with teachers. It works. It's great because it romanticizes you. It makes it look like you really, really care. When all you really care is the attention, the need for relevance. It appealed to teachers. Meanwhile,